Okay, 1 hour run in the books. Time to relax for a tiny bit and get some sun. Take Emily to the bus station because she's going to Baltimore. And then let's talk about Golden Guardians getting their butt kicked. So 100 Thieves recently announced their partnership with Subway, and I still maintain that I will not eat Subway so long as I'm in New York City. There's a bodega right there with local food. However, Emily's on a time crunch, so she's going to get Subway. At least somebody's supporting it. Emily is off to go visit a friend in a different city for a few days and go see a show that she's putting on. In the meantime, I'm going to be living the bachelor life for the next 3 days, so I'm basically just going to do the same shit I always do, which is play League of Legends and make content. So today is a relatively somber day for North American League of Legends. We had our first international victory at MSI over a major region team. Ourselves. Great. Phenomenal. Look, it's just the luck of the draw. Would I have rather played EU and potentially lost to them? Probably, yeah. But at the end of the day, it was still a decent series to watch. Cloud9, I don't think was ever in jeopardy of losing this series. I think for the most part they had control. And overall, it kind of went as expected. If you watch the LCS finals and then you watch this tournament, it went pretty much as expected. Yes, there was this narrative that Golden Guardians could pull off the upset coming in, but I think it was a little bit fabricated, if we're being honest, because the reason people were hyping up Golden Guardians is because they took one game off of BLG, whereas Cloud9 did not. But even that game versus BLG was like, they did one thing, BLG immediately figured it out, and that was it. And BLG has continued to ramp up a little bit since, although they got 3-0 by JDG. At the end of the day, it felt like it was a fairly similar performance, all things considered, from both Cloud9 and Golden Guardians. So the result was mostly the same, barring one single game difference. Other than that, the emphasis that people were putting on Licorice and on other players, while Licorice definitely stood up better against JDG and 369 than Fudge did against Bin, a lot of the weight that people were putting on Licorice's performance was against minor regions, which you do have to kind of take with a grain of salt at the end of the day. Because if the roles were reversed and Fudge was playing in the play-in stage and played against the minor regions, I'm sure he would look just as good and have that warm-up time to maybe shake out some of the jitters and then be good by the time they would have faced BLG in the same situation. So I don't agree fully with the people that are like, oh, Licorice is, maybe better than Fudge now. Like, even when we watched that series, yeah, Fudge clearly is still getting carried by his team this tournament for whatever reason. He just, look, it's an off tournament. It is what it is. It sucks that it's 2 in a row now for this, but at least domestically, he's still winning. So, kind of is what it is. And that Jace matchup in Game 4, pretty heavily favored towards Fudge, even though it obviously did have the prio in his favor. On the flip side of the coin, this tournament is going to be pretty damning, I'd imagine, for Stixxay specifically. Because even in the matchup versus Cloud9, and then obviously in the games against BLG and JDG, my man got abused, like bad. His positioning was not great in several spots. When China's playing these comps that are protect the ADC, do not let anybody get near the AD carry, and then unfortunately Stixxay is finding himself in positions where it's like, oh, I'm surrounded by 4 enemies on the other team, and it's like, how did we get here? That's not good. It's not like Berserker didn't have those moments either. He literally threw Game 3 entirely because of a play like that.
Angle. Blows a ward down to the puck. Oh, Berserker! He's been caught! Licorice with the flash of the engage and the shutdown, and Stixxay with the damage!
But for Stixxay, it's going to be a lot more damning because he even had those games against some of the minor regions as well, and then it just wasn't great. The series against Elk is just going to stand out in my mind for a while. It's not like Elk wasn't prone to those issues either. This just happened earlier today.
Still really having a lot of threat on these carries.
Definitely a terrifying champion to play against in the late game. Elk locked up. They're going to force a quick cleanse out from him.
Not going to burn anything else here. Elk still stepping forward, though. Has to be careful. Just gets pulled back and deleted. That is not a mistake you can afford to make. That kid is shocked. So are we.
And even still, Elk was like 20 steps above. So it's not great. Before we go on to Cloud9 though, let's take a moment to stop and appreciate Golden Guardians. And I want to directly compare them to Evil Geniuses a year ago. EG, one of the hottest teams in all of North America at the time, with Danny and JoJo, had all this momentum, all this fandom going into MSI. They didn't release a jersey. They didn't release any apparel. They barely, like, it felt like they were just absent. They had a blessing drop right in their lap, and they did absolutely nothing with it. And now, because they didn't do any of the goodwill, because they didn't do any of the good graces that would buy them time and buy them favor in the community, when shit hit the fan this year, people were very quick to jump ship. Golden Guardians, from the beginning of Spring Split, had a very clear message. You might not like us. Like, they were underdogs and they knew it, and that's fine. And yes, they didn't go on to win the Spring Split, but it was enough to qualify them for MSI. So what did they do immediately? They released a jersey to commemorate the moment, which did get out to some fans in time to actually wear it while they play, which is big for people. You had a lot of engagement from them on social media. You had people like Anero. You had others that just, it felt more connected and wholesome than it did last year when EG was in the exact same position. And when EG eventually faltered and stumbled out of the tournament, despite looking good in play-ins, unfortunately people didn't really have the good graces. Whereas Golden Guardians now, I'm not sure how many fans they ultimately built on this. We will see as summer goes on, but it was just good management all around. So massive props to Anero, to everybody behind the scenes from Golden Guardians, who doesn't get the same limelight that helped make this this run through MSI and through Spring Finals as good as it was. Kudos to every single person involved. I'm very proud of you. Thank you for representing North America incredibly well on the international stage. I'm so sorry that your run had to end so soon, but that's the nature of being NA in these tournaments now. The one Debbie Downer thing that we do have to talk about with Golden Guardians is something that I mentioned in the last video, and that's going to be burnout come summer, because I'm really worried about it. Like, I legitimately think that when I put my power rankings together, granted Evil Geniuses blew up, so it's going to be a lot easier for them to still maintain that, or maintain their spot for Worlds, at least as like 4th seed. I'm expecting them to come out of the gates really struggling to ramp up a little bit. And the metaphor I would use is for those that watch horse racing or races in general that are a long period of time. This whole year is a marathon. And now for Cloud9 and Golden Guardians both, you are at that halfway point where you now need to conserve energy as much as humanly possible, because you have 2 weeks of break immediately before going into the summer split, where granted, only top 8 matters. So all you have to do is get into playoffs, but then you need to have that energy left in the tank at the end to be able to turn it on and make the run up to make sure you guarantee top 4. I'm worried about the amount of energy that they'll have at the end of the tank. I do think that they'll be fine in terms of making sure that they get the playoffs with a decent seed, probably 5 or 6, especially if they have a lull at the beginning of the year. But ultimately, I am worried for them long term, especially in a world where 100 Thieves went to Korea and made some upgrades. NRG looks like they're making a potential upgrade with FBI. Like, this is not going to be, and FlyQuest is good to go as well. Like, now with Vulcan, like, EG blowing up made the competition around you a lot harder. So they have to be on their A game, and you cannot come back and slouch. I still have a music video coming their way before the beginning of the summer split as a payback to Arsh. But Golden Guardians are, like, if you want to bet that, like, a lot of people are going to give you shit for, but could also end up paying out, is that Golden Guardians could miss Worlds. And that's shitty to think about, but that's the nature of MSI. This quick turnaround does not favor them at all. And we've never seen a team blow up in spring before and make everybody else around them better. This is going to be tough. Speaking of tough, though, Cloud9 now has to face up against Gen G. Gen G had a 16-minute, or no, sorry, that was T1. Gen G still whooped G2's ass pretty good. G2 got a single win off of them, and then obviously nearly pulled off the reverse sweep against T1, so they're in pretty good form. I mean, you hope that they're mentally distraught a little bit. This is the first time that we're going to be seeing losers bracket advantage of C9 coming off hot and T1 ending up cold, or Gen G ended up cold after the T1 series. But will it be enough to make a difference? Because let's be honest, Berserker and Blabber look great. I have full faith that they can contend with Gen G. The problem is, Fudge hasn't looked all that good, and M&S has been very inconsistent. So there's a world where we get 3-0 mollywopped real quick. I'm hoping if, you know, transitive power is a thing and we truly are of equal level as G2, that we can take a game off of them. I at least want to tie the record, because I do think that BLG will 3-0 Cloud, or 3-0 G2, so we don't have to worry about that. But dear God, do I just want to beat at least match the amount of wins that Europe has against China and Korea for us, which would be big, which is just one as of right now, depending on how the G2 series goes on Tuesday. We will see. I'm optimistic. Is it going to be difficult? Yes, absolutely. But I'm predicting a 3-1 victory for Gen G. I think this is going to be the end of the line for us. We'll deal with that whenever it comes. That LFC video will come out on Wednesday. It'll probably come out on Friday, all things considered. Or, well, something else that I want to talk about that's not North America related, because I want to wait to talk about the potential implosion of LCS until a little bit later of a period of time, probably next week. So yeah, I'll probably save that video for Saturday unless we win, and in that case, then it will come out, because we have to talk about it, because then they obviously play again. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to go home and play video games, because League of Legends hasn't been up for a few days, and Ranked is finally enabled again, and your boy is tired, really tired of being Gold 4. Also, the river is beautiful out here. One quick other note, there was some drama from the LCS scene today in regards to the debate on like East versus West, whether it's a narrative talking point, whether like there was a whole bunch of drama that went down that's really not getting into, but there is a point that I do want to address that came as a byproduct of all this, like 45 minutes after everything was wrapped up, it seemed like. And that is, you don't have to find every single LCS fan that exists to be your type. You can find their style of talking point annoying. It doesn't matter. Stay in your lane. Let people be fans in the way that they are being fans. So long as it's not intrusive on you in any way, let people enjoy the LCS how they're gonna enjoy the LCS. I'm the type of person that's gonna talk shit. That yes, I will say things that puts my foot in my mouth, as has happened this week. There are others that are gonna take the pure happiness approach. That's fine. Just let people do what they're gonna do. You got a problem with somebody, just ignore them. It's online. Like, the odds of all of us running into each other all that often outside of LCS finals, which I know the majority of people on Twitter probably don't even go to, or at least the people that are just talking this amount of shit. It's like, God, just mind your own goddamn business and stay out of it. I get, we as a community will get in debates because we all don't see shit the exact same way as each other. That's called human nature. We're not all going to agree, even if you think that you are on the same side as each other. But with that said, just learn to accept people's differences. It's not hard. You don't have to like everybody. I know there are people that, quite frankly, do not like me in the League of Legends scene. But look, if I run into anybody that I know doesn't like me in person, I'm still gonna shake their hand and have a conversation with them. Why? Because we're all gonna have differences, and it is what it is. It's not worth getting all bent out of shape on or frustrated or just accept that people can enjoy the things that they like in a different way than you. Your opinions might be different. You might not agree. You might hate it. It is what it is. Just learn to move on.